Hi everyone, Rae-Mi here. It has been a long time since I've made a video. I think I say that almost every time, even though I said I was going to do a video every week. But as part of my job, I do social media, and you can check that out at Chapel Sedona and at SJV Sedona on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So by the time I finish work, I usually end up not making one for this channel, which is just my channel for fun. But enough with the excuses. The reason I'm making a video today is to tell you all about my pilgrimage to Italy. I got back about 2.5 weeks ago, and it was an incredible experience. And you may be thinking, oh, this is like a classic. Great, you're gonna show me pictures of your vacation. Super fun. But pilgrimages are not vacations, especially for me because I was there in a work capacity. But even if you weren't, it's not a vacation. It's actually a very rigorous schedule with a bunch of other folks, pilgrims, where you travel to all these incredible holy sites. And there's a rich tradition of pilgrimages in our Catholic faith. People especially would go to the Holy Land and to Rome. And it was often, very dangerous. They were on foot. We have more comforts now, but it still can be quite uncomfortable. And there's often casualties back then, especially, but even now, you have people kind of, getting colds, getting, tired and having to drop out of certain things, because it is pretty rigorous. But it's all designed to bring you closer to God, which everything in our faith is. And I never considered myself somebody who would want to do pilgrimages because I'm very much like a hobbit. I'm perfectly content, staying at home all day and reading and studying and praying and all of that. But God brought our pastor and priest into my life, and he has opened this whole world up to me, and I find that I love it. And I'm definitely open for that kind of adventure, and it does indeed deepen my relationship, and I think it would deepen your relationship with God, which is why we do anything we do, right? As Catholics, that's the way it should be. So I will go ahead and just kind of dive in and hope that as I tell you about some of these experiences, maybe it will help you get closer to God, maybe inspire you to look up some of these places or even go to these places yourself. So we ended up leaving on a Monday morning at 4:30 in the morning. And when we landed in Rome, it was 8 in the morning, Rome time. But of course, with all the traveling and the time changes and all of that, it felt like it was supposed to be like 8 o'clock at night on that same day. But here we were landing, feeling like we needed to go to sleep, and we were starting a brand new day. So that's what I mean about it being pretty intense. But we jumped on a bus and drove to Orvieto, Italy. And this is a site of a famous Eucharistic miracle that happened in the 13th century. Unfortunately, the Eucharistic miracle is not on display all the time, just on certain days of the year. So we couldn't see it firsthand, although we were in the cathedral, which was amazing. And we got to be where it was, but we couldn't actually see it. So it was a really adorable medieval town, and the cathedral was jaw-dropping. And insert picture here. I'm going to be inserting some pictures while I'm talking, or maybe some videos. We'll see what I do. But after that is when we went to Assisi, Italy, which ended up being, I don't even know if I have words. Father Ignatius, our pastor, says that when you come back from a pilgrimage, you're not going to be the same. And I thought it was hyperbolic, but it's true. And for me, I think it was really Assisi that just completely changed me. And I think part of it was that St. Francis was the first saint that I befriended as I was making my way into the church. And He is the saint I've not only known the longest, but I feel the closest to. And he's the one I go back to all the time. You know, if I'm having a rough day or if something seems a bit difficult. Looks like my phone volume is still on. There we go. So being there for me was incredibly special because of that. And I think the place itself is just, there's something special about it too. But our first stop that same day was the Portiuncula, which is in the Santa Maria degli Angeli, which is a famous Franciscan spot. I mean, Franciscans have been going there forever. And that's because St. Francis built the Portiuncula, and that's really mostly where he and the friars lived in the beginning. And it's really small, and it's inside the big cathedral or basilica. I'm not sure if it's a cathedral, basilica, but inside the Santa Maria degli Angeli, which was built around it. And also, right by there is the place where St. Francis died. And I just lost it. Like, the tears were just flowing. I just couldn't believe that I was in this place that I heard so much about, and in this place that I knew St. Francis had built with his own hands and had been in so much. Um, I felt like I always joke that if I were in a place like that, my heart would explode. And it felt like my heart was exploding and like causing like the tears to come out of my eyes, you know. I mean, it was just it's hard to explain how much being there touched me. And if you want to go to our parish YouTube page, I have a playlist. It's at SJV Sedona, and the playlist is Italy Pilgrimage 2025. And I posted videos every day as we were going. And then I posted like a movie version later when we got back of the whole thing. So I'll include some things here, but you can check that out if you're interested. But when I was making a video of Father Ignatius talking, I was crying as I was making the video. And he was like, "Are you okay?" I said, "I just can't believe I'm here, you know." So it was very moving to me to be in that spot. The next day, we were still in Assisi. We got to be there the whole day the next day. And I always say I'm going to be prepared. This is it's my second pilgrimage. But the first time I wasn't prepared really. I just kind of went not really paying attention to what our schedule was because I was studying for my comp exam before that. This time I didn't really have an excuse except just I work a lot. But I still didn't really look super close at the schedule, I guess, because we were just kind of whisked to this basilica and down these stairs and underneath to have mass. And it wasn't until like mass started. This is how, not observant I am, I suppose. But I'm doing the media, so I'm like, preparing to just kind of film mass and all of that. But it wasn't until I was filming it and I zoomed in and I realized this is the tomb of St. Francis right here. Like, I'm sitting here and the St. Francis is right there. And started crying again. I think would just cry a lot during this whole pilgrimage. And that mass was unbelievable. It was unbelievable that I was there. I just can't even believe it, even now. And afterwards, we got to kind of walk around. Then it had, some of the friars that were closest to him are buried in this place or in this tomb. And wow, I mean, wow. It was amazing. And then we got a tour of the Basilica of St. Francis, which was also amazing. And then walked through Assisi, which is it's like being in a storybook. It really is. It's just like somebody opened the pages of a storybook and you're walking in it. And we get to the Basilica of St. Clair. And I didn't, this was the real surprise and continues to be a beautiful surprise about this pilgrimage is St. Clair. Uh, I've always been super close with St. Francis and never really paid much attention to St. Clair. And this pilgrimage, she really came to the forefront for me and still is. I actually, as we got home here, I bought two books about her and I'm studying about her and I'm going to give a presentation about her in February down at the Institute of Catholic Theology in Phoenix. And that's been that's been a great gift. And I think that's all part of God's plan for me personally on this pilgrimage. And there's this beautiful view right by her church. And I just was very touched standing there and looking out on Assisi. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful. And of course, inside the Basilica of St. Clair, there is the San Damiano cross. If any of you know about St. Francis, you know this is the cross where he was praying and heard the voice of God. It wasn't originally in that spot, but that was the cross. So I had the chance to kneel and pray in front of that cross, that famous cross. And we went down to see where her tomb was. And then across from that was her hair and some clothes she wore and clothes St. Francis wore. And speechless. It was just to see. I mean, you know, you learn about these saints and they seem, it sometimes seems like they are not real, you know, because they're so amazing and our faith just comes to life. I mean, it makes you realize like our faith, it's not a museum. It's not a museum or some historical thing that wasn't that neat that happened and then we, you know, go on with our lives. It's like we're living it. I mean, they were there. They were walking there. These are their clothes. And they did these things. And you're doing these things now. You're continuing this now. It's still alive. They're still alive. All of this is breathing and I just get chills thinking about it. And so when you're there and you're on these streets and you're like, yes, these things actually happen. These people were real and they followed Christ and I'm following Christ and they're helping me follow Christ. And he through them is talking to me and through this place and it's just amazing. And after that, we got to go to where St. Carlo Acutis, one of our new saints, is, and got to see his body, which is on display. It looks incorruptible, but I don't think it's technically incorruptible. I'm not sure. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, if you're still even watching. And so that was amazing, of course. And we had some free time. So during the free time, I had the opportunity to go back to the tomb of St. Francis and just pray for like an hour, which was, it was just amazing to really just be there. Yeah, it was amazing. So the next day we still got to be in Assisi, which was just my cup overflows, you know. I mean, it's amazing that we got to spend so much time there because pilgrimages usually are just like go, 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 go. So the fact that we got to spend so much time in this incredible place was the greatest gift. And we got to go to the Hermitage of Carchary, which I never even heard of before this. And it turns out it's like one of my most favorite places in the world now. Like, so it's basically the place where St. Francis and his brothers would go and pray, like up in the hills, mountains, whatever you want to call it, right above Assisi. So if you were to walk it, it's like an hour walk up these switchbacks, kind of up. And all these trees everywhere. It felt like you were in a tree house or something. I think later they built a monastery there, but you can walk around and they have the caves, like the actual cave. This is where brother so and so lived in this cave, and this is where this person lived in this cave. And so yeah, that was amazing. I mean, this is what I'm going to talk about Rome here in a bit, but you go to these incredible, ornate, beautiful basilicas, and you're like, that's our Catholic faith. And then you go to like a cave, and you're like, that's our Catholic faith. And then you go, you're in the trees, and that's our Catholic faith. And you're in a tomb, and that's our Catholic faith. I mean, it's just, it's amazing how our faith is just so rich and so deep, and there's so many ways that it can be expressed and lived and experienced, that are still all within the church established by Jesus. So it was amazing being there. It's hard to even explain how amazing it was to be in that place. And it's my understanding that there are a couple of these hermitages spread out, because St. Francis went to these different places to go pray in solitude. And we saw like a rock where he slept. And I know like there's another one somewhere too. So I have to go back so I can go and see the other ones. But this one was truly special. I just loved it, obviously. And after that, we went to San Damiano Church, which is the church that St. Francis built. So he saw the San Damiano cross in that particular area where he heard Jesus say to him, rebuild my church, which has fallen into disrepair, or something like that. So he took it literally and built that church at San Damiano. I suspect it's been built up quite a bit more since then. And eventually, that's where St. Clare and her sisters lived. And St. Clare lived there for her whole life. And once again, like, what a gift and an opportunity to grow closer and get to know St. Clare, especially for me. I love St. Francis so much and follow him in a lot of ways. And she followed him, and, being a woman, showing me the feminine expression of following St. Francis, which is great. And I'm never usually like one of those, like, I have to look at it from the perspective of a woman. Like sometimes I find that to be a little tiresome. But with that being said, it has been really eye-opening to me to see that expression of the faith and the way of St. Francis and the way he followed Christ. And it really was moving and touching to see where she was and where she died. And inside San Damiano, they have this little corner where St. Francis hid, when his father was coming after him. So it just brought everything to life. I read everything I could on St. Francis and listened to everything and watched the movies and the documentaries, and to see these actual places, like, this is for real. Like, this is where he hid, I mean, how cool is that? And what's even more amazing is that we had Mass at San Damiano, and I got to be the reader, the minister of the word for this particular Mass. And it's one of those things where you have Mass every day on a pilgrimage. And I signed up to be a reader one of the days, and I just said, I don't care when, just tell me when you want me to do it. And it just happened to be in San Damiano, which was amazing and even more meaningful, with my love for St. Francis, and how this was the place where he heard Jesus's voice from the cross, and he built up with his own hands. And then St. Clare lived there, and she's inviting me into something new, and I got to proclaim the word of God in this place. I mean, it doesn't get more amazing than that. So that was the big highlights for that particular day. And the next day we had to leave Assisi, and I didn't want to leave. There was just something amazing about that place for me. But I always say, always, it's my second pilgrimage. And I'm already saying always about pilgrimages, but you have to just keep going, keep going with the flow, keep going with where the Lord is having you go on the pilgrimage. It reminded me of when Peter, James, and John are with Jesus and the transfiguration happens, and Peter's like, let's just build tents and stay here, but it's like, no, you have to come back down, to come back down from that. And there is always that temptation for us, right, as human beings to grasp and be like, I just want to stay here. I just want to stay in this place. But the Lord's like, no, 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 no. I have more for you to see, more for you to do. So from there, we got on a bus and we were on our way to San Giovanni Rotondo. But on the way there, we stopped in Loreto, Italy, where the Holy House of Mary is. And there's that story of the angels bringing the house of our Blessed Mother to Loreto, Italy. Another story is that actually a man name with the last name Angeli is the one who arranged for the house to be brought. So however you want to look at it, there's no doubt that the house and the materials are from the area where Mary is from, and that this house is legitimate in that sense. So it was amazing to stand there where the Annunciation happened. And that was an incredible experience. And then we went to Lanciano, I think it is, where there was another Eucharistic miracle. I want to say, I have a cheat sheet here. I want to say it was in the 8th century, 7th century, maybe. It was a long time ago that this Eucharistic 8th century. This Eucharistic miracle happened in Lanciano, and you can now, this is on display. So you can actually see this. The blood now has, what do they call it? Like they congealed into 5 pieces, and the Eucharist is there. And that obviously is amazing. I mean, it's hard to even find words to describe how amazing that is, and how God reveals to us that the Eucharist is his body and blood. And it's been tested, and you can look more into it. I don't want this video to be super duper long, although I'm sure it's long already because I can sure talk. But yeah, you got to look into it. All the Eucharistic miracles. I don't know how you can't believe that the Eucharist is the body and blood of Christ after learning about these things. And actually, St. Carlo Acutis made it his life mission, even though it wasn't a very long life. He was very successful at bringing these miracles to the forefront. So it was very fitting that we got to see him, and then we got to see this Eucharistic miracle in person. And then we finally made it to San Giovanni Rotondo, where the famous, wonderful, miraculous Saint Padre Pio lived. And the next day we got to have Mass in the church where he was the priest, was the pastor. And we got to be blessed by one of his gloves and his cross, which was amazing. And we got to see his body. We went to kind of the newer church that they made with all these mosaics, and we got to see his body, which definitely looks incorruptible. I think it is, but that was, of course, amazing. And as if that day wasn't amazing enough, we went to another famous spot, the Grotto of St. Michael, where he appeared to a shepherd in that spot. I want to say that was a very, very long time ago. I want to say it was like the 4th century, but am I making that up? Let me just check my notes here. Fourth century. Wow, I guess I should trust my memory a little bit better. So anyway, Saint Michael actually appeared in this spot, and it's an incredible pilgrimage spot. Famous, famous, famous. Like a ton of saints have gone there. The Crusaders would stop there on their way to the Holy Land and pray. So being in this place, not only where Saint Michael appeared and consecrated the altar himself, okay, um, but it's also the place where all these incredible saints have been. So that was amazing. And here's what's really incredible. So I got to go to confession right before I got to go into the grotto. And I love confession. And being able to go to confession on a pilgrimage is extra special. And just so happens I was in the grotto. I found a spot that was not too crowded, kind of tucked away in the corner. And all of a sudden, it just seemed like the place started filling with people. And then this priest comes out, I'm getting chills, with the Blessed Sacrament for adoration. And it took me a little while, but I realized that we were praying the Divine Mercy prayer and the Divine Mercy Chaplet. And that was amazing. I just sat there and prayed and didn't expect that to happen. It was one of those moments that God gave me, and some of other people on our pilgrimage that just happened to be there at that moment. And it was unplanned, and it was just such a gift and a special moment I will never forget. And yeah, so that was that day. I mean, see what I mean? Like, this is like you're seeing all of these mind blowing things every single day. And so the next day, we got on the bus and we went to Piana Romana, where Padre Pio received the stigmata for the first time. So he received it the first time, and then it went away, and then he received it again and had it for 50 years. But this was the first spot where he received it, right under a tree. It's kind of close to his hometown, and they built a chapel around it, and they have the tree preserved in there. So that was super cool. And I've read a lot about Padre Pio as well. I love the movie about him called Miracle Man. So it was just like all these things were coming to life right in front of me. And we celebrated Mass there. And then we went to Pietrelcina, which is where he grew up. And we got to see his room, where he was, So that was really special as well. It's a really adorable town. I mean, these old towns and buildings are just, they capture my heart. I wish we still built things like this. And then finally we headed to Rome, and we got there really late that night, and we were going to be there for 5 days, which was very exciting. We stayed kind of outside of the city and went in each day for our adventures. But the first day we went to 2 basilicas. Of course, this is a Jubilee year, which is one of the reasons we did this pilgrimage. So we got to go through the holy doors, which was amazing. We went to St. Mary Major first, and we got to have Mass there, which was incredible. And I don't even know how you can describe these basilicas. They're so, you feel like this big in there, and you're so surrounded by this immense, beautiful place. It's like you entered, I mean, you do. It's like you're entering another time and place. This whole pilgrimage felt that way in a sense. Something outside of time. So much so that once again, like I didn't want to leave. I just wanted to stay in this place that seemed like it was outside of anything I ever knew, and more incredible and miraculous than anything I've experienced before. And these basilicas are just the art, the statues, the paintings. I mean, everybody who played a role in building these like brought their best, and they built these. A lot of these people who built these and contributed to these, they knew they weren't going to see it finished because it took like 100 years. Um, but they did it because they're looking towards something bigger than themselves, you know. And I think sometimes we've lost that, and we have to get that back, all of us. Um, that it's not just about like, well, what am I getting out of this? You know, it's giving our best, looking towards eternity, um, and looking towards what we're giving is going towards that, not necessarily what we're going to get today, now, this instant gratification of some kind. And that's the way people were more so. And that's why we have these incredible places, you know, that not only have the best art and the best construction, or however you want to call it, but also it has the tombs of these incredible people in history, some of the most holy and brilliant people to ever walk the earth. So, yeah, it's pretty amazing. And in St. Mary Major, they have the relic of the Holy Crib of Jesus there. It's there. It's unbelievable. And we got to walk through the Holy Door, which I didn't really think much about what that would be like, but there was something just really special about that experience, and walking through that door and touching that door, that is hard to explain, but amazing. And we went to St. John Lateran, which I didn't really know much about. And it's just so funny how we got back, and then like a week later, we're celebrating the feast of St. John Lateran Basilica, which was amazing because I was just there. And I really fell in love with that basilica and that holy door in particular. For some reason, it really captured my heart. And I think I know why now, because when we got back, I kind of dug in more into the history and how that was where the Pope was. That was kind of the first basilica built when Christians weren't being killed all the time. You know, they finally were able, it was legal to be Christian. And this is what they built to worship together out in public. And the Pope was there, and the Pope's chair is there, and the Pope's altar is there. So that was really special. And I think even though I didn't quite grasp that before we went, I felt it when I was there. And another unexpected surprise that day was pretty much right next to, across the street, sort of, from St. John Lateran is Sancta Scala, which are the Holy Stairs, which are the stairs that were brought over from Jerusalem by Constantine's mother. And they're the stairs where, you know, Pontius Pilate was like, Barabbas or Jesus, you know, those are the stairs that were there. And we waited in like an hour line to get in there. And what you do is you go up the stairs on your knees as an act of devotion. And it was funny because, you know, we were waiting for a while. There was a gelato stand out there. I got some gelato. We're kind of joking around and whatever. And so it was really unexpected that when we got to the stairs and I got on my knees, that it was just like, it hit me. How do I even describe it? Like, just this incredible emotion and sense of something bigger than myself. And it was funny because the first 3 steps, you know, because I'm in pretty good shape, so I'm like, you know, I can do this. But it started really hurting, and there were a lot more to go. I don't know how many there are, between 20 and 30 steps, maybe something like that. And you were feeling pain, and you're surrounded by people you know, people you don't know, people from all over the world, and you're looking up at a painting of the crucifix, Jesus on the cross, and you are in some serious pain. And all I could think of was just gratitude. Gratitude for salvation, for our Lord who gave his life for me. Gratitude to be a part of his church and to be a part of these people around me, these holy people, some of them I know, some of them I don't know, but we all get it. We're all there doing this. And I used to be a dancer back in the day, and there's something about pain that I say this as a dancer because dancers are in pain a lot on purpose, but there is something about pain, like as a dancer, where you're like, if my feet aren't bleeding, like I'm not really. What am I really doing this? Am I really putting myself into this? So there's this sense that pain equals meaning, um, and so I really get it. I really get it that when you're in pain like that, like there's something real, very real, and something that means more. And it also is pain is a great way to bring you in the present moment, just like that. You're not really thinking about anything else. So it was an amazing experience for all those reasons. And so that was that day. Amazing. The next day was the day we went to St. Peter's Basilica, famous St. Peter's Basilica, just as amazing as you could possibly imagine. Just take all the sculptures and the art and the tombs of incredibly amazing saintly people and multiply it even more for St. Peter's Basilica. But here's the thing that we did that was the most special. Is the first thing we did is we went down to the tomb of St. Peter and we had mass at the tomb of St. Peter. Let me repeat that. We had mass at the tomb of St. Peter. I mean, what? This was amazing. Once again, the tears just flowing. Like, I kept thinking this whole time from the beginning of it till that point and onward is that could these saints have ever known that this was what was going to be, that, hundreds, thousands of years later, people would come and be at their tomb crying and worshiping our Lord. It's more than you can comprehend in your mind, in your heart, in your soul, but you know that you're a part of something so much bigger than you. You're a part of history, a part of a lineage that is still very much alive, as I said before. Yeah, and you're living it. This is your life. This is like the greatest adventure. It's like you're living, the Lord of the Rings, but it's real and you're in it and you are part of it. Why would you not want to be a part of that? It's amazing. I just realized how dark this screen is, but I'm just gonna, whatever. I'm just gonna keep going. But it's raining outside, so I have all the time in the world here. But yeah, it was amazing. So we went to the Vatican, saw the Sistine Chapel, all of those amazing things. So that was that day. And the next day, you guys, we went to the general audience of the Pope Leo. And it was funny because I didn't really expect to be so awed and amazed by this whole experience because it's crowded and I don't like crowds. But wow, we sat right where his Pope Mobile goes, like on the edge. So we get a good glimpse of him. And not only did we get a good glimpse of him, but he actually stopped right by us. And there was something amazing about being among thousands of people, waiting for him to come out, seeing him. And it's not just, a lot of times people just don't understand. It's not just about him. It's about who he is, the successor of Peter. Here I was the day before at the tomb of St. Peter, and here I am seeing the successor of Peter right there, and he did feel like our papa, our spiritual father. We're all waiting for him to come out. It felt like Christmas or something, and hearing him talk and just what he, who he is and what he represents, and what we all represent, but not just represent. I mean, it's for real. Like, it's not just like a symbol or whatever. I mean, this is all very real and alive, and just being there, and yeah, being among all these people who are all we're all a part of this family. That's not just us there in that moment, but extends throughout time and space. Everything we're a part of isn't just this moment. It's outside of this time, outside of this moment. It's eternal. We're connected to something eternal. And you know it and you feel it when you're there. There's nowhere else you'd rather be than in the Catholic Church. While I'm there, I'm like, I can't even imagine not being a part of the Catholic Church now. I mean, it's just so filled with treasures, and oh, it's amazing. So that was amazing. And that was the big thing really for that day, which is big enough, right? And so finally our last day came, and we went to St. Paul outside the walls, which was the last big basilica with holy doors, and where St. Paul was martyred, the spot where he was beheaded. And so of course we got to see his tomb, and that was amazing. I feel a special connection with St. Paul because he had a conversion and I had a conversion. I mean, I would love to be as amazing as he was. I don't know if I ever get there, but I definitely feel a connection to him because of that. We had mass there as well. So that was amazing. And there was something very special too. Every place is special, I know, but it was St. Paul outside the walls. So it was a little bit outside of kind of the craziness of Rome. And there was like a piece there that I didn't feel necessarily. Like the other places were amazing and awe inspiring and breathtaking and all of these things. But this was that. Plus it was just kind of had a piece about it, which I really liked. And the last big thing we did was we went to the catacombs, and there are a lot of catacombs actually. Our one we went to was Catacombs of Callistus, I believe. And that captured my heart in a very special way. It was a really amazing way to finish. There are actually no bodies in there. They've been all taken out. But they're huge. I mean, you go in and you see all the openings, where the bodies were, and that's where Saint Cecilia was. And also the first popes were there. And they even said like one of the popes was celebrating mass down there among the popes before him who were all martyred. If you were pope back then and was like, okay, well, I know I'm going to die. I know I'm going to die by being martyred. Like that's what happened to all of them up to a certain point. And while he was celebrating mass among the bodies of the martyred popes in the catacombs, he was taken away and martyred himself. Right, and we stood right in that spot. The drawings on the walls. Oh, you guys! I mean, like they drew like gospel scenes or whatever, but it was how they taught the gospel down there, and they had my two favorite images were the Good Shepherd. They had drawing the Good Shepherd, Jesus with the lamb over his shoulders, and the Eucharist, you guys, the Eucharist. They were drawing back then the consecration of bread that turns into the body and blood of our Lord Jesus Christ. Yep. So that's real. That's real, everybody. And that's what we do now. And we got together in one of the rooms down there. I use the term room loosely. I mean, you are underground. And there's just openings where bodies were all over the place. And it sounds creepy, but it wasn't for me. I felt so close to all of these first Christians. I felt like I could feel them. I could sense them. And when we gathered into this place together, we prayed the Our Father together in there. And I, surprise, surprise, started crying again. Uh, just thinking about how they were in there praying the Our Father together. And there we were, 2,000 years later, something like that, close to it, doing the same thing. Um, so, yeah, that was my pilgrimage. That was my pilgrimage to Italy. And in some respects, I feel like my heart and mind are still there. And I want to go back. I didn't want to leave. And my faith is stronger than ever. I feel closer. I feel closer to Christ than I've ever been. And yeah, just being in those places, walking where those saints walked, being near their bodies, and being where all these Christians have put, they died and they lived their faith and built these places and hid from persecution and showed new ways to express our faith that have been embraced throughout the centuries. And I feel so grateful to be a part of it, just a small part of it. And I can't imagine doing anything else. Like, this is all that matters. This is all I care about. This is all I want to give my life to. And I don't know exactly what that looks like or is going to look like, but I'm just going to keep following him, because how did I end up doing that? Seriously, like, I became Catholic almost 8 years ago, and there I was in these places. How did that even happen? Like, so I always say, when you say yes to God, buckle up, because I never imagined I would be in these places where these holy people were. And yeah, just say yes to him. He's going to do incredible things in your life and fill your heart in ways that you didn't even know could be filled. And he's still, always wanting to bring you closer to him and grow deeper in your faith and revealing more and more and more. And I'm experiencing that. I experienced that there. I'm still experiencing it. And it was an amazing experience in general. So thank you for listening. If you're still here, thank you for listening. I know, like, the video quality is probably not very good, but because it's dark, but I'm not focused on quality. I just want to tell you all about my faith and how much I love Jesus. So hopefully I'll make another video sooner rather than later. God bless you all.